I mean, prove it. Like have we got access to their public keys? Can we see that they're not saying one thing and then dumping on the market? Because if I was investing that kind of money and I had shareholders and people who I was held to account by, then I would say one thing and do the other thing, and that's like Michael Saylor's job. I do like Michael Saylor. I like some of the stuff he says, but he could just be a great salesman, and he could just be defrauding all of his Bitcoiners. And one way in which they can prove that they do have the Bitcoin and they are in fact accumulating more Bitcoin is to publish their public keys, which I don't think is particularly a bad thing for them to do. They're not sovereign individuals who try and live some sort of cypherpunk dream. They're big, very public entities. So let's see your public keys, lads. On energy consumption, I think the reason we see that coming back as an argument against Bitcoin is because it's probably the most valid argument against Bitcoin, because it does consume a lot of energy, and a lot of the energy which is consumed is heavy, has a heavy carbon footprint. However, it's just temporary. It's just it incentivizes green and renewable energy use, and the little rant I had before on Bitcoin's effect on renewables, and actually when you get larger transaction throughput, it's very efficient. It's much more efficient when you think of the social scalability of, say, a small country who wants to opt into some planetary economic system. They don't have to have all this infrastructure which they used to have, so you end up with that social scalability. So but that's the reason, and you're right, Martin, it is something we should. I think Bitcoin is, we every now and then there'll be an article about how it incentivizes renewables, and there's some mining operation in Canada making use of some dam or something, but there should be active lobby groups targeting miners who don't try and use renewables and doing all the real world stuff which industries do to try and show that they are trying to tackle that problem, just because it'll just help keep the competition quiet. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting what Josh said before about correlation with the stock market. I think it just shows that there's a proportion of people buying and selling Bitcoin who are just traditional traders, and they're dipping in and out of uncertain markets, what they think to be uncertain markets, and Bitcoin is for them quite volatile and it feels uncertain, so it's not for them a hedge against the stock market as it is for us lot, or a hedge against legacy finance. So but yeah, if they're not saying one thing and doing the other, these big money managers and the Michael Saylor's not dumping his Bitcoin but saying that he's buying a lot more up, then with Bitcoin it's everything's kind of delayed. So this is why before, when you asked on price, I said, oh, it's going to pump, because if he is buying the amount of Bitcoin he is buying, then it is going to have an effect on the Bitcoin market, and we will have an uptick next week, and there is definitely a hell of a lot more institutional buying and interest going on right now than there ever has been. You got Visa really investing heavily in researching Bitcoin and using Bitcoin. So yeah, it is just the beginning of something much larger, and this is all going to accelerate and exponentially grow the amount of big institutional investors. And just 5% of their portfolio, it's a small amount, but for the impact it would have on Bitcoin's price would be very large indeed if every large corporation or institution or financial fund did that.
It may be the best argument against Bitcoin, but it's also such an easy argument to make. It's really difficult to quantify the cost of the current monetary system. It's really easy to take the Bitcoin energy and multiply it by the number of miners and then multiply it again. And that's why I think they keep coming back to this. It's so easy to take a deep look into the Bitcoin numbers by multiplying years in ahead, which again, we all know chips and computers don't work like this. Revolutions don't work like this, the tech, and we gain a lot by switching to the Bitcoin system. It might even be greener because of the ability to use renewables and excess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with you completely, but if you talk to when you go to Congress, Chaos Communication Congress, the Chaos Communication Computer Club in Germany and in Europe, their biggest reservation is always, it uses a lot of energy, and this is the argument against it. When I've spoken to computer professors, they've all said, but the amount of energy it consumes. So we need to. Michael Saylor had a really nice tweet actually on the impact that clean energy will have in the future and the impact clean money will have in the future. And Bitcoin is a clean money. It loses all that kind of stigma of control which fiat currencies have. Like it's a free and open source money we can all opt into and, or, you know, have an impact on. So and he's right as well with clean energy. When we're no longer using these fossil fuels, and energy isn't a dirty word, and we're using a money which also has this sort of dirty stigma to it, then we'll be in a much better place in society. But yeah, no, for now, it's the first impression for those, you know, other people out there who look at Bitcoin, they see trading centric, news cycle. It consumes a lot of energy. Oh, I don't want to go near this stuff. It sounds horrible. And then, but once they get past that, you know, for some people, that first impression has a lot of appeal, and it actually draws them in. But for quite a lot of people, it doesn't. But you know, if they can get over that hurdle and then look at the actual technology behind Bitcoin, they're like, okay, wow, this is very impressive, powerful technology, and okay, it's, you know, consuming all these dirty fuel sources for now, but that's something which can be improved. So yeah, we do need to target it head on as an argument.
A dreadful conspiracy, and they freely open source their plans like some kind of intergalactic James Bond villain. Going back to what Martin was talking about again, the energies being used by the countries, they said that the energy fund would be used against the corporations to try to stop them from buying Bitcoin. My question to you, is it too late? Dan Eve.